What's up, everybody? This is Kyle the Arcade Hack, starting my first video of, I don't know, my magic YouTube videos, I guess. I don't really know what to call them. But, today I'm actually going to be going through the, our league that we play in, because if you're cool nowadays, you're playing in a magic league. Our league is a Elder Dragon or Commander league, so the rules of magic typically is usually 20 life, 60 card deck. We actually play a 100 card deck. With a general or commander that sits in the command zone that you can play anytime. If it dies, though, it costs you 2 additional mana every time. I'm going to be going through my deck, basically just kind of showing you my strat, showing you kind of what I built here. I'll be going through the other decks I've built. I built actually, I think, 4 for this season. So I'm playing green, which is what I'm going to go through today. I've done red-white, red-blue, and black-white. So those are the 4 decks I built. So I'll start off with my commander. So Nylea, the god of the hunt. Cool ass bitch here, huntress bitch. So it is a god card. So my devotion to green, if it's greater than 5, if it's 5 or less than 5, it is an enchantment, not a creature. When it's indestructible. Other creatures I control have trample, which is badass. Also, I can inflate creatures for 4 mana, giving them +2/+2. So, I usually go with monocolor. I usually go with a 3rd mana, so 33 roughly mana cards. With green, especially, I find the first and best part of making an EDH deck is always getting a theme first. How you're going to play, specific play style. Me, I go big giant bastards and overrun. Well, I take a glass off here, just so I can. I've got a lot of different cards in here. I'll kind of skim over some of them. I'll focus a lot more on the bigger ones, the ones that I really play with all the time, that are kind of my heavy hitters and my main strat. So Oakheart Dryads, 2/3 creature, just a small one. Again, it just adds, anytime I play this or enchantments, I put 1/1 counters, or yeah, creatures get creature gets +1/+1 the turn. Nice little boost, not really necessary. Green doesn't have a lot of flying, so Plummet, killing creatures with flying. It's not bad. Again, it's only 2 mana. It's pretty sweet. Ranger's Path, 4 mana, gets me get 2 forests out of my library, put them into play tapped. Really good for the mana ramp. You really need a good mana ramp with green, because otherwise, I mean, your big creature come out. One of my Hydras, 5 mana. Enters the battlefield with 4 1/1 counters on it, and you can tap 4 and put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is its power. So you can just basically keep generating it and buffing it up. Have another Hydra in here that's way more badass, but we'll get to that in a bit. Elixir Immortality, again, pretty standard in all in all EDH decks. Gain 5, sacrifice it and gain 5 life. Shuffle graveyard and a library. Pretty standard. Helps against miss. So again, the other thing, obviously, your commander magic. You can only have 1 of every kind of card in here, no doubles, so you will notice that I don't have any doubles. Rotwolf, 3 mana, 2/2 creature. In fact, I don't really give a shit, but it's a low cost creature just to get something out there. This Beast Tracker, she basically, when she comes into play, she's 2/1, 3 mana. It's got 2 for, it gives me plus, it's got 2 forests, so it's 2 for devotion. It's a nice cheap creature, boosts up my devotion fast. Also lets me search my library for a card with reach, death touch, hexproof, or trample. So I mean, green not really that far fetched, so it's pretty sweet. I can kind of get a decent creature and bring it right to can put it on top of my library. So Decree Savagery. So it's 9 mana, but I mean, you put 4 1/1 counters on creatures you control. So, I mean, that's pretty beefy. If you got the mana ramp for it, it's really an amazing card, and it really, again, especially putting counters, not just till end of turn, it's actually counters. So, I mean, it'll actually boost you up pretty good. Of course, probably my favorite card. So, Genesis Hydra, 2 mana, and you tap X. Actually, sorry, this isn't the one. I thought this was the one, sorry. See, I don't even know my own deck. But I'm doing really good with this one this year, I swear. But when you cast it, you reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put a non-land permanent card with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield, then shuffle the rest into your library. Genesis Hydra enters the battlefield with X/1/1 counters on. So pretty sweet. I mean, if you really want, it's a really cheap creature if you just want to do it for the 1 or 2 mana. I mean, it's not, obviously you're not going to get the other effect of it, but if you're really in a pinch and you need something to defend, it's kind of nice for that. Green Sun Zenith. So, tap 1 and X. Search your library for green creature card with converted mana cost X or less and put it to the battlefield, then shuffle this into your library. All the Zenith cards are fucking amazing. Must have in all decks. Really. Upwelling. This is my game changer card. I love this fucking card. So, mana pools do not empty at your end phase. Prevents mana burn. So, basically, mana goes nuts. You get fucking people who get tons and tons of mana, especially with certain decks. I believe it is the green-blue that has, like, where you can store mana, so that, combined with that, is just unreal. Dungrove Elder. Hexproof, 3 mana. Its power and toughness equal to number 4 I control. Monocolor deck, it's fucking great, because again, it starts a guaranteed 3/3. From there, it only gets stronger. Malamo, Marrow Sorcerer. Trample, which again in this deck, once I get my God out, sometimes I don't even necessarily always play I play my God, but I don't necessarily need it to be a creature. Just the fact of it giving trample to all my other creatures is well worth it. Again, its power and toughness is equal to the number of lands I control. So monocolor deck doesn't really matter. You could, even in a multicolor deck, it's really not that bad because again, it's not specifying force. So still sweet card. Sword of Feast and Famine. 3 mana, 2 to equip. Enchant creature gets +2/+2, protection from green and black, and when it deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card and you untap all lands you control. I don't really need to say it. This card fucking is... funny enough, I've rarely got to actually use it, but, I mean, it does help your game, especially end game, can help it a lot, especially if you're working with, like, 10 mana. Being able to tap all of it, put something else out, equip that, then untap everything, pretty pristine. Can't really argue with it. Giant Growth, pretty standard. Again, 1 mana. Target creature gets 3/3/3 till end turn. Nice little tide changer for a combat. Not bad at all. Penumbra Worm, 7 mana, 6/6. When it dies, you put a 6/6 black worm token into play, so it dies twice, basically. Pretty fucking awesome. Rite of Passage, enchantment, again 3 mana. Enchantments are nice because they're easy, at least guaranteed 1 mana for your devotion, anyways. So whenever creature you control is dealt damage, you put a 1/1 counter on it. Green deck, it's pretty nice because again you have heavy hitting creatures people are always blocking, so I mean you're getting 1/1 counters for it. Jugan the Rising Star, great fucking addition. I think it's Champions of Kamigawa, I think was the first one, yeah. So flying, 5/5. It was 6 mana. It gives you 3 for devotion, which is badass. When it dies and gets put into the graveyard, you may distribute 5 1/1 counters amongst any number of target creatures. So I mean, pretty badass. Not, I mean, again, I do rely somewhat. You'll see a card in this deck later on that I rely a little bit on counters, but I mean, counters in general are just fucking awesome. Metamorphosis, I don't really ever use this card, but it's 1 mana. You sacrifice a creature to add an amount of mana equal to its casting cost +1 to your mana pool. So again, if you're really desperate and you have really higher cost stuff in your hand and you need that extra mana for the mana ramp, it's really good. I personally actually never got to use it yet. Restock, I use this card all the time. 5 mana. Return 2 target cards from your graveyard to your hand, and then you exile this card. So, again, once things die, it's great to bring them back. Especially, you'll see some of the cards in here that are really powerful, but they're easily handled if they're zerged early. So this is a really good card to bring those back. Aspect of the Hydra. 1 mana, target creature gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is your devotion to green. So, again, once you have the overrun part going, you can give a creature pretty good boost in combat. This enchantment, I usually use it on my God just because he's indestructible. So Lure, it's 3 mana. Again, it gives 2 to devotion. Enchant creature, all creatures able to block enchanted creature do so. So you attack with your God. every creature on your opponent's side of the battlefield, especially if they don't have their god out, even if they do have their god out, it doesn't matter. But if they have like anything that's less than yours, like my guy's a 6/6, so anything that they have 6 and under is gonna die. Your god's gonna be fine. Kills off all their creatures. We specified gods in ours. You don't have to use a god for commander. We just do it for ours. That's just our kind of deal. Worm Reaver Coil, 6 mana, chat green creature, gets +6/+6. You can tap 3 and sacrifice Worm Reaver Coil and put a 6/6 green worm creature token into play. I rarely use it, to be honest. It's I don't know. It's one of those cards I just have it in there. I don't necessarily. It's a nice boost, but I don't necessarily need it. So I'll tell you Flare. So 4 mana, 3/4. Whenever creature you control with toughness 4 or greater dies, you gain 4 life. I don't really use a lot of life gain in green. There is some like Ageless Entity, like every time you gain life, it gets like a boost or something like that, or puts that many 1/1 counters. There are a lot of life gaining cards in green. I just don't really play that. I go with more of the overrun kind of trample, keeping my enemies low creatures, everything else. Sheltering Word, 2 mana, target creature you control gains hex proof until end of turn. You gain life equal to its creature's toughness. So again, I think it's like one of the other two. I think the other two of 2, I guess, of the 2 cards I have in my deck of with life gain. It's nice again in a pinch, kind of when if you're sort of falling behind. It's a nice little pickup, especially with green because you always have bigger creatures. So Tranquility, pretty standard. Most people know this card. 3 mana, destroy all enchantments. Helps out, especially when people start Oblivion Ringing, like exiling your creatures and stuff. It's a nice little chain. So here is where the tokens and like the counters, the 1/1 counters, come into play. Champion of Lamhole, 3 mana. It's a 1/1 creature. Creatures with power less than it cannot block my creatures. So once I get this thing up to a 6/6, basically my opponent is defenseless. They can't block any of my stuff. So I just go full. Like once I get to this point, even if they have say 3 creatures, yeah, sure, maybe I'll take 10 damage. Sucks. It's a quarter of my life. But I mean, realistically, when I hit that point, and at least I'm hoping at that point. At that point, I'm hitting like I've got like 20, 30 damage going out. So I don't really care that I'm gonna get hit. So I mean, that's where that comes in. It's really one of the more pinnacle strategies in my deck because again, once I'm unblockable, I can't really do much. Reviving Melody. So choose one or both. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's nice. Again, if you have an enchantment gets destroyed, plus a creature, say, like one of your bigger creatures, or Champion Lamhole, you just use that and you bring it right back. So again, the counters, cards that give counters are nice for Champion Lamhole. Really, they're good for any creature because I mean you're just boosting up your army, but Champion Lamhole just gets a better benefit from it. Moldervine Cloak, 3 mana, jet creature, gets +3/+3. It's got Dredge, so Dredge 2, if you would draw a card instead, you may put exactly 2 cards from the top of your library into your graveyard. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. Otherwise, draw a card. So it's not really the greatest. I mean, I never use Dredge, but it adds it. It's nice. Again, it's a nice boost. And again, with those two, if you enchant Champion Lamhole, it also works as long as it's whatever its power is or toughness is. Sorry. So, Grounded, 2 mana, chatted creature loses flying because again, this deck suffers. You get creatures that have reach, but you don't really have much defense against flying. So your basic thing is to kind of desert people or force them to block with their flyers when they don't really want to. Hooded Hydra. So this one here is actually, I think this is one of the newer cards from Khans Takir. I actually haven't played it yet, so because I haven't actually played this deck since Khans came out, and I replaced all these cards. So tap 2 and tap X. So it enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. When Hooded Hydra dies, put a 1/1 green snake creature token on the battlefield with for each 1/1 counter. You also can pay it as morph, so you play for 3 face down, and then you pay its morph cost, which on this one here is 5. So again, when you turn this thing face up, it's you put 5 1/1 counters. So you can either do that, or you can put the 5 right off the bat. Depends, I guess, really on your mana. Laloir Elves. 1/1, 1 mana. You can tap it for a mana. So just cheap creature, helps you with mana ramp. Thragtusk, 5 mana, 5/3. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 5 life. When it leaves the battlefield, you put a 3/3 green beast creature token onto the battlefield. So it's nice. Again, dies, you at least get something out of it. Guy's Touch. I've used this actually quite a bit. Again, it's an enchantment. It's 2 for my 2 mana, and it's 2 to my devotion. You may play an additional land a turn. If you sacrifice this, you can add 2 mana to your mana pool. And it can be played as an interrupt, so you can play it again on your turn or on an opponent's turn. So it's kind of nice that you can do either or. Pretty cool. Again, I've used it a lot of times for mana ramp. You saw the Wanderer Bard. So this one here is 3 mana. It's kind of a weird, confusing card. I didn't really get it at first when I put it in my deck. Everyone else seemed was like, oh my god, it's badass. It's 2/3. It's 3 mana. You tap 3 and you tap this and you put a verse counter on it. So when you put a verse counter on it, then you search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to the number of verse counters on Esau, and you put it onto the battlefield and shelter your library. So the first time you do it, it's 1. It converted mana cost 1 or less, then 2 or less, then 3, and so on and so on. So basically, the longer this thing's out and the more you use this thing, the bigger creatures you're getting out. I know it sounds simple now that I explain it, but I mean when I was playing it, I was kind of dumb. Lack of better words. Trollhide, 3 mana, enchant creature, gets +2/+2 and has tap 2 and regenerate this creature. It's just nice for, again, champion Lambholt and stuff like that, like your more creatures that you really rely on, because in that way, if they're gonna die, you just regenerate them, right? You just have to make sure you reserve that mana for it. Frog Tongue. So it comes into play, you draw a card, enchant creature can block creatures with flying. So again, helps against your flying problem there. Pistis Strike. So 3 mana, destroy target creature with flying. Its controller gets poison counter. It's 3 mana and it destroys a flying creature. I don't really care about infect or poison counters. Symbiotic Worm. So it's 8 mana. It's a 7/7. Gives you 3 to devotion. When it's put into the graveyard from play, you put 7/1/1 green insect creature tokens into play. So 7/7 is awesome. The fact that you get to put 7 creatures into play when it dies, again, just gives you more blockers. And if you're not playing against Trample, it's amazing because you can block, like, they'll hit you with a 5/5 and you're like, okay, I'll block my 1/1 instead. Kadama of the North Tree. So 5 mana, 3 to devotion. It's a 6/4. Trample. Can't be the target spells or abilities. So it's just a decent creature. It's good for devotion. It's pretty decently low cost for green. Rocks. 6 mana, 5/5. You can tap 3 to regenerate it. Its best effect, though, is you may have rocks deal its combat damage to defending player as though it weren't blocked. So even if they block this thing, you're still dealing them 5 damage. It's awesome. I love it. Roar of Challenge. 3 mana, so it's a sorcery. All creatures able to block target creature this turn do so. Awesome. Also has Ferocious. The creature gains indestructible until end of turn if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. So again, same strategy as what I used Lure with my god. Just kills it. Kind of levels the playing field. Because you really, again, with Green Overrun, you really just want to keep your opponent minimal creatures, and then you have your trample damage going through, and then you just want to go on all out assaults as much as you can. So Predatory Rampage. 5 mana. Sorcery. Creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. Each creature your opponent controls blocks this turn of Fable. So again, if they're like, oh, well, there's no way I'm ever going to block this because I don't want to die, here's your loophole. Titanic Growth, 2 mana. Target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. Again, turning tides in combat. Pretty standard with green. Crozine Cloudscraper. I rarely get to play this card. It's 10 mana. And you have to pay 2 mana as an upkeep every turn. It's not cumulative, so it's just 2 every turn. 13/13, plus you'll have trample with your god. Pretty self-explanatory. Roaring Primidox, 4 mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, return a creature you control to its owner's hand. So this is it's good with the creatures that have activated abilities. I don't really use this guy every so often, and when I do, The one thing I will say though is the nice thing about this is you can use it with Champion Lambhold because every time a creature comes into play, it gets a 1/1 counter on it. So if you play this and then you return it, play it, return it, play it, return it every single turn, I mean, it's that, or again, if you have something that's even cheaper, if you have like a 1 mana creature, just do that every turn, and again, you're just upping Champion Lambhold every time. Archetype of Endurance, 8 mana, 6/5. Creatures you control have hexproof. Your creatures your opponents control lose hexproof and can't have or gain hexproof. Pretty nice. I don't really have a lot of stuff that targets them, but it's good in a multiplayer game. It's kind of a game changer. Heir of the Wilds, 2 mana, 2/2 with Death Touch. It's got Ferocious, so whenever Heir of the Wilds attacks, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, it gets +1/+1 to hold a turn. So it's a 3/3 if you have a creature 4 or greater, which again in green's not necessarily that uncommon. We're getting close, I swear. Elvish Visionary, 2 mana, enters the battlefield, you draw a card, 1/1. Again, just cheap creature, just so you have your beginning mana ramp. Phyrexian Revoker, it's an artifact creature, kind of weird for my green deck, but it's 2 mana, it's 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, you name a non-land card, and activated abilities of sources with that chosen name can't be activated. A lot of times I use this on people's gods that have like mana tap abilities and stuff like that. It counters that, so it's kind of nice, especially if you know people's decks. If you don't, you've got to kind of wait. Set as in Tactics, 2 mana instant, so it's got Strive, so it costs 1 extra forest for each target beyond the first. So it always target 1 creature, and then if you want to apply it to other ones, you can pay more mana. So until end of turn, any number of target creatures get +1/+1 and gain this creature fights another creature. So this again, in situations where they're never going to block this creature because it's too valuable to them, you use this. Even if you use it on 1 creature, you use it. You pick your defenders, so you can kill off their creatures as safely as you want to, really, unless it gets countered, obviously. Crozan Colossalus, 9 mana. It's got Morph if you really want. 9/9. Just again, big creature for later on, more endgame. Sentinel Spider, 4/4, 5 mana. It's got Reach and Vigilance, so attacking doesn't cause a tap and it can block flying. More strategies to help against your flying problem. See the Unwritten. Again, I added this card to my deck. Haven't actually got to play it yet. 6 mana, sorcery. Reveal the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest into your graveyard. If you have Ferocious, so if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, you can put 2 of them onto the battlefield. This is huge because if you get, say, something like Crozan Cloudscraper and, like, say, I have Ghoul Tree in this deck, or, again, Crozan Colossalus, that's a 13/13 and 9/9 you get to put on the battlefield for free. So, pretty awesome. Vanguard Firstborn, it's 4 mana. It gives you 3 for Devotion, which is awesome. It's a 4/2, and whenever it attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on counter on each attacking creature. So, I mean, it's really good for just boosting up your defenses, or boosting up your army, really. And speak of the devil, Ghoul Tree. So 8 mana, but it costs 1 less for each creature card in your graveyard, and it's 10/10. Some people say I know Matt says it's the signature card of my deck, but really, I don't think so. I think really Champion Lambhold kind of more is. Venom Spout, Baracus, 7 mana, 5/5. You can tap 2 and tap this, and it deals 5 damage to target attacking or blocking creature with flying. So again, just more defense against your flying if they're attacking you. Phytotitan, 6 mana, 7/2. Kind of a weird thing, but whenever it dies, you return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control at the beginning of his or her next upkeep. So again, even if you keep using it as an onslaught, because it's like 7 power, 2 toughness, so it's probably going to die. But you get that 7 damage. That's killing a good chunk of creatures in EDH for the most part. Ring of Colonia. So again, equipped creature has trample, and then if it's green at the beginning of your upkeep, if you put a 1/1 counter on an equipped creature, if it's green, it costs 1 to equip. It's 2 mana to play. So I mean, they have 1 for every color. They're really awesome because again, you just put it on your most badass creature, or you can put it on your god. But if your god it becomes an enchantment, then that thing goes away. But you just gotta watch it. Wreath of Geist. 1 mana, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Again, it's just a nice little boost. but you got to make sure you consistently have creatures in your graveyard, otherwise it's kind of useless. Satyr Grove Dancer, 2 mana, 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you put 1/1 counter on target creature. Again, just more of the cheap stuff to help you last until you get your mana ramp kind of going. Hornet Queen, 7 mana, it's flying, it has Death Touch, which is awesome. It's 2/2, but when it enters the battlefield, you put 4 1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying and Death Touch on the battlefield. So for 7 mana, you're getting 5 creatures. And they all have Death Touch, which is badass. Again, it has flying too, so it's kind of nice. 7 flying. So here is my pride and joy. Primordial Hydra. So tap 2 and tap X. It enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you double the number of 1/1 counters on it. And it has trample as long as it's 10 or more counters. So you have your god, so you're really not going to be worried about that. But this thing here, I can speak to at least 3 or 4 games where I've had this thing at a 64/64 with trample or higher. Needless to say, this thing gets zerged pretty early, but it's pretty awesome. And it's really good for winning games. It's a nice deterrent against people attacking you too, because you don't block with it, and then you just let it get high enough that people aren't going to attack you because you know you're going to block with it. Beastmaster's Ascension. I love this card. 3 mana. It's an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control attacks, you put a quest counter on it. If it has 7 or more quest counters, creatures you control get +5/+5. When you're doing green overrun and you're building up a big badass army, there's nothing sweeter than an extra free 5 attack. Wolfrey Revenger, 3 mana. It gives you 2 for devotion. It has flash, so you can play it anytime you can play an instant. It's 3/3, and it has tap 2, and you can regenerate it. Cheap creature, and it's fucking awesome. For growth, bring any card from your graveyard to your hand. Again, pretty nice to have, especially with creatures like Primordial Hydra. Primal Command, 5 mana. You choose 2. Target player gains 7 life. Put target non-creature permanent on top of its owner's library. Target player shuffles his or her graveyard into his or her library. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it, and put it on top of put it in your hand, and then shuffle your library. So again, it has multiple uses and multiple strategies with it. Again, I haven't got to play this card yet because I haven't played my deck yet. So Dragon Throne of Tarkir. So 4 mana. It's an artifact equipment thing. So equipped creature has Defender and has tap 2, and other creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X, where X is the creature's power. It's 3 to equip it. So obviously, if you get this on Crozane Cloudscraper, you're giving 13/13 to everything you have. It's pretty awesome. Who cares if it's a Defender? All your other creatures are ridiculously overpowered now. Got 2 cards left. Phyrexian Hydra, 5 mana. As Infect, so it deals damage and -1/-1 counters or poison counters. If it would be dealt damage, you can prevent that damage by putting a -1/-1 counter on it for each 1 damage per end this way. So if you want, you can put counters on. I never really do that. I just let it die. Or, again, I'm usually just killing people with it. And last but not least, the Netcaster Spider. 3 mana, 2/3, has reach, and when it blocks a creature with flying, it gets +2/+0 till it turns. It becomes a 4/3. So it's pretty awesome. So that's my green deck. Again, pretty standard overrun. Lots of trample, lots of big badass creatures. I've been going pretty good win-loss ratio, I think. Most of the times I lose it's usually because I'm mana fucked. But short of that, it's a pretty good deck. Next week I'll probably be doing maybe my red-white. It's probably my next favorite. I just made my black-white one, so I'm still sort of testing it and playing a little bit with it. My red-blue deck was unreal in one game because I literally got an infinite strategy and killed everybody. But I'll get to that in future episodes. So glad you guys like it, or hope you guys like it anyways. Hearing just this nerd talk about Magic. But yeah, look for future videos. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. See you guys later.